Before I even entered the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, I started seeing some of the more ostentatious members of the Sylvan community. Shortly after this encounter, I entered the park at the Cataloochee entrance.
Welcome, this is Graybeard for the Sylvan Reflections channel. At this recording, I've just finished doing an ecology field trip over here to the Smoky Mountains. So I figured after they went home, why not stay an extra day and do some hiking of my own. So I thought I'd finish off some of those trails in the Cataloochee area so I could get those out of the way and have the entire eastern 1/5 or 1/6 of the Smokies completely hiked. So today we're going to do that.
From the trailhead, I crossed the bridge over Palmer Creek that marks the beginning of the Caldwell Fork Trail. Almost a mile later, I turned left onto the Boogerman Trail, traveling 4 miles and a modest total ascent of nearly 1,400 feet, and reached the Caldwell Fork Trail, where I had decided to do the remaining 0.4 miles to reach the McKee Branch Trail. From the McKee Branch Trail, it was a mere 3.2 miles and about 9 to 12 deep water crossings with no bridge to reach the car.
So let's go ahead and get a start. Yep, sure enough, just going to start here. It's going to take us 0.8 miles to get to the Boogerman Trail. This was a rainy day, then all of a sudden it has opened up. So, starting about 12:30 on the Caldwell Fork Trail, we have lots of unbridged water crossings. And since we've just had some rain, you know it's going to be fairly deep. So I'm counting on just getting wet up to my knees or thigh and then just drying off. All right, off we go. I love their bridges here in the Smokies.
Very quickly, you enter the gently lit embrace of the Woodland Trail. I believe this is the Philadelphia fleabane, although the Robbins plantain and eastern daisy fleabane are quite similar. I know I showed the ferns a lot, but the northern maidenhair fern that we see here is quite pretty, and I think it fits its name better than most plants.
This is what it's about. Getting out. Not just driving through the Smokies, which is gorgeous. Actually getting out and getting into them, where you can really be a part of the experience. This is what I wish all my hiking was like. Especially the ones where I gained 3,500 to 4,000 feet. Yep. The ever-present streamside trail. It's almost a cliche, but it's one of which I am dearly fond. It is so relaxing. One of the things that God has blessed us with is the beauties of nature, and this is extraordinary and extraordinarily demonstrated in the Smokies. More dog hobble.
For most of the year, dog hobble is just a trailside bush that occasionally gets in the way. During early spring, however, it has the most beautiful series of cascading chandeliers of white blossoms.
Been with the ecology class, we've been identifying the trees and trying not only just to look at the leaf, but also the bark, branching pattern, all that. So, I mean, we've been showing them the the birch, we've been showing them beech trees, we've been showing them all those common ones that you run into. Maples, we've been different kinds of maples, a lot of the same ones you see here, especially in the pine oak and into the northern hardwood. You'll see some mix. Cataloochee, at least the part that I'm hiking here, is a little lower elevation, but there's still a fair amount of overlap in the trees. And it is just gorgeous. There's a beauty in winter when you're hiking through and you can actually see so much more. You can see through into the depths. There's a thrill in being able to see all that extra that you don't see normally. But then again, you get a new thrill when it comes spring. The foliage starts coming out. You start seeing things fill in, and it takes on that rich vibrancy of life, adding to it the mystery of not knowing exactly what's behind this clump, or that it gives you a true appreciation for the infinite variety and the beauty that's out there. As always, the painted trilliums are just beautiful.
The painted trillium blooms in late spring and is one of the more eye-catching trilliums, with this pop of intense purple at the base of brilliantly white petals. This is the Appalachian rockcap. The pinna, or leaflets, of the blade come off the axis in a way that seems almost whimsical.
As are the ever-present partridge berry.
There are several similar species, but based on the height of the flower above the leaves, I believe this is the sweet white violet.
Oh, love the fact they bridge the water crossings here for us.
The history of the Boogerman Trail is an interesting one. It is based on Robert Palmer, as in Palmer Creek that I crossed at the beginning of the hike. It is said that on the first day of school, he was asked what he wanted to be when he grew up. And he wanted to say Boogeyman, but it came out Boogerman. And that nickname stuck with him from then on. The Boogerman Trail passes through some old-growth forest featuring some rather large white pines, eastern hemlocks, and yellow poplar trees. Mr. Palmer loved this area of the Cataloochee Valley and purchased large amounts of land in which the Boogerman Trail is located. As a result, he didn't want to sell any land to anyone, and he protected it from logging and development as a result. It is a beautiful forest with old-growth trees that we wouldn't have had it not been for Robert Palmer, the Boogerman.
All right, here we are. Caldwell Fork Trail goes on for another 2.4. So on our way back, that is what we're 2.4 back. Okay. Trailhead. All right, here's the Boogerman Trail. It's almost 4 miles, no problem. Here's the trail warning. Here is the big reminder that we have a bunch of unbridged water crossings. And folks, on that, there's just no way around it. I'm probably going to get wet. Probably up to my knees, if not higher. So that's just something you got to be prepared for, especially after a rain. But let's get going.
While this bishop's cap flower is small, when you look at it closely, you can see the delicately fringed edge of the 5 petals. Later in the season, it develops tiny, dark-colored fruits in the shape of a bishop's cap or mitre. The creeping buttercup is a beautiful flower, is somewhat invasive with its quickly rooting stolons, and loves damp areas. I believe this is the marsh blue violet, a stemless violet, based on the height of the flower. According to Plants for a Future website, infusions of this plant have been used in the treatments of coughs and colds, as well as poultices to help relieve headaches. Disclaimer: one should never consume or ingest anything without properly verifying its safety with a properly certified expert such as a physician.
Oh, here we go. I am pretty certain that that is a ramp.
The ramp has long been a favorite of mine. The ramp is sort of a wild onion garlic hybrid in its characteristics of flavor. With its luxurious wide green thick leaves and its sphere of white petals, it is a beautiful splash of more subtle colors on an often more dully colored forest floor. If you hike the Smokies, or watch many of my videos, you probably recognize the shining club moss by now, with its rich green color.
We're beginning to climb just a little bit here after turning onto the Boogerman Trail. You're beginning to see some of the different trees here. Of course, you still have the magnolia. We're beginning to run into some striped maple, which is always pretty. Has that almost trident looking leaf to it. And you can see it. I mean, it just kind of does look like a trident. Depending on the age of the tree, see that stripe pattern, but really pretty. Here you can see another leaf that's a lot closer. Really love that trident shape. Very pretty. So we're looking at little pines. Everybody's growing. See the fresh growth. The leaves are so soft. Really, really pretty on the deciduous trees. Pretty, pretty.
Many times, after long hikes gaining thousands of feet, I've thought how nice it would be if I could just fast forward.
Always pretty to see the fiddleheads. Down at the lower elevations, they are already unfurled, but up here at the higher elevations, one of the nice things about Boogerman Trail is that it does get a bit of elevation, so we get to see them while they're still curled up into that fiddlehead. Beautiful.
Unfortunately, my schedule and circumstances are sometimes such that I find myself short on time and energy, and on such occasions I tend to forego some things, like taking the time to focus on some of the flowers here, as I should have. As I said, I do apologize for that.
Ah, pretty, pretty. Here are some false salmon seal that are a little more developed. You can see the beautiful blooms at the end. We're about the highest elevation we're going to get on the Boogerman Trail, and I love these little coves that you come to. Just you get a little bit more, kind of almost a cove hardwood feel. Just beautiful in this area. Okay, you can see this one's going to be a wake robin. Don't know if it's in focus, but I hope you can see that.
The sweet wake robin is also called Vassey's trillium, and it is a native of the Smoky Mountains, and usually blooms around April to May. The flower's tendency to hang down under the leaves helps differentiate it from the other trilliums.
Okay, first time we've seen bear corn.
This plant is a parasite of oak trees. Being a parasite means it's not going to be doing any photosynthesis, and consequently, doesn't have any green color to it.
Finally, started going downhill. Hit that section. Forgotten. There's a section with a lot of isolines really close. Finally hit that section and was going about like this for, felt like the better part of a mile. I know it was much shorter. But finally we are hitting some downhill. Part of the reason I wanted to do Boogerman first is not only would I be fresh back to the car after if I, wading through the streams, so I could turn up the heat if I needed, but also if I'm going to have any difficulty in terms of hard work, elevation, all that, I'd rather get it done at the beginning than the way clear to the end. Should be fairly close to starting our 7 water crossings you saw earlier there in the video. That's going to be refreshing. And on down we go. Love these knolls, these forested top of the ridge here just before you start going downhill. Especially some of these are really nice and open. You can see the tulip poppers and some other that we've got here. It's really pretty. You can start to see through the trees. You get this panorama. Absolutely gorgeous. Oh, signs always welcome. Means we're hitting Caldwell Fork is my guess. What is this gonna say? Yeah, it's reminding us that I'm just about to hit, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 water crossings. And it's going to get up to about thigh deep. Yep, sure enough, that was the Boogerman trail I was on. And that was about almost 4, almost 5, including the Caldwell Fork that it took to get down to the Boogerman. And now we're back on Caldwell, and we're going to be heading towards Cataloochee trailhead in 2.8 miles. So let's go ahead and get that done and get ready to get soaked. It's been very, very pleasant. Oh, here's our first stream to ford. Not too bad, as long as we don't trip and fall. Let's see if I can navigate this really quick. Ooh, that's fun. Just can't be in too much of a hurry. All right, not too bad. And onward. Wow, that is something I don't mind. As I'm looking along here, the trail is just covered with these painted trilliums. Just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. One thing I don't like is that this trail has become a jumbled rock stream bed or something. That is always my least favorite kind of trail. Oh, and look at this. Our first crossing worthy of the name. This is going to have to take, there's no way around this. I am going to have to stop, pack everything up, and get ready to hold it over my head as I go over. This is where I start getting soaked.
Those rocks are a lot more slippery than what you can tell from the video. At this point, I'm wishing that I owned a good set of trekking poles. I've never really looked into them, since I usually am holding a camera. But I think it would be a good idea to get a set and have at least one of them with me for a situation like this. After I find a few grand for a good 4K mirrorless camera, I think I'm going to start saving for those poles next.
Well, as you can see, made it across without going completely in the water. Although I was all set with my 2 walking sticks. And you saw it just crack right in front of me, so So I think I'm going to carry the one with me and look for one that's not been lying on the ground so long, so rotten. Anyway, so it's not a bad deal. You just have to wade across and let things dry out later. And it does wake you up. This is turning out to be quite the nice little trail. I know I've got a bunch more crossings, but actually a pleasant trail. A little muddy, but I'm assuming I've got more water to walk through to wash it off. Yeah. I guess I just need to stay along the left side till I hit the trail there. Interesting. See if we can see the trail from over here. Yeah, I think I see it. Okay. Alright. Look at that. I do get to wash it off some, don't I? I can't tell you how nice it is to have the sun come out so I can actually see through the water where I'm putting my foot. There's some slippery moss and stuff, and it's nice to know where you're putting your foot. Yeah, the only iffy thing about that is when you can't see where you're putting your feet. Then it gets interesting. Okay. Second major crossing's good. We'll see what we end up with.
Before crossing, I make sure I have all electronics like camera, batteries, etc., and any other water-sensitive items securely stored in a big Ziploc bag that I put inside the backpack. Of course, the idea is that if I do misjudge my footing and fall in, life will still be worth living because the sensitive items won't be ruined. On a side note, when you are hiking at a fairly quick pace, the coolness of the creek actually feels pretty good.
Well, another one successfully crossed. And by successful, I mean I'm on the other side and I'm not 100% soaked. So, take every victory we can get, right? Okay, we're at another water crossing. This one's fairly wide, but not as deep as the others. So I'm not going to bother and take across and then come back and do a crossing. So I'll just walk straight across and film as I go. Can't get cocky because it's slippery stuff, so I got to watch it. But it is really pretty here. As you can see, the stream comes by here. Not terribly deep, but it is slippery, so I got to be careful.
When I came to this creek, I couldn't see where the trail picked back up on the other side. Turns out that other hikers have mentioned this in their reviews of the trail. The creek was a bit wide, but pretty shallow for the most part. I just had to be a little careful and take my time getting across.
It turns out that where I crossed the stream was about 20 to 30 yards downstream of where I should have. Let me show you. This is where I should have crossed right here. But if you go down that trail a little further, down about there, in the middle of the picture, that's where I ended up crossing, because there was somebody made a trail just going down to look there. It looked like it was the main attraction. Oh, look at these dog hobble. It is just, wow, isn't it not beautiful? All right, well, let's continue on.
I must apologize for the chirping sound in some of these video segments here. I do not know if it is mechanical in nature or if it's some type of electronic glitch. In any case, I'm sorry about that.
Oh, look at that, another one. And 100 yards, you'd think, oh, wait. That is a welcome surprise. This, okay, it's a bit deeper than some of the others, so that's maybe what they finally actually did one. Oh, he's beautiful, as you can see. That should be everybody's view. Just beautiful. All right, let's keep on trekking, see if we get to the end of this and get back. I think we got about maybe half a mile, 3/4 of a mile from here, and we'll be back to the car.
The spotted wintergreen is another of the oft-encountered Smoky Mountains native plants. While it blooms only for a short time, the year-round dark, rich green of the leaf, bisected by that pale green stripe, gives it an intrinsic aesthetic beauty. This appears to be the Canada Mayflower, or false lily of the valley. At first glance, it looks a little like the ramps. However, unlike the ramps, the Canada Mayflower has leaves along the length of its stem. False Solomon seal is another of the Smoky's flower in the lily family that I encounter with some frequency. It has that diagnostic combination of alternate leaves with all the blooms being at the terminus.
I think I figured out the secret. They refrain from putting in footbridges, so you have to wade across after 6 or 7 or 8 of those deep ones, and then they give you a footbridge like the last one I just showed you. Then another walk across to your mid-thigh, and then another crossing. Give you a bridge again. So, oh well. Yeah, I'm just as glad I don't have to walk across that. I am happy to stay on my bridge. I'm back to a few more feet of trail before we probably hit another crossing.
Here's another of the plants I commonly encounter here in the Smoky Mountains. Fan club moss has those spiny cedar-like scales. You can see why it is also known as ground cedar or running cedar. I had some difficulty with this one, but I believe it is Clinton's lily. It is quite similar in appearance to the ramp, but I think the wider, more bulging oval shape of the leaf suggests Clinton's lily. As always, if I've missed something, please let me know in the comments. This looks to me like star chickweed. It is very close to the Tennessee starwort. The Tennessee starwort has sepals as long as the petals, whereas the sepals of the star chickweed, as you can see here, are only about half the length of the petals. Sadly, audio problems continue to plague me on this hike. I was mentioning here that I saw some more plants that I wanted to look at just down the trail. I promise I am working on getting better equipment. I've long considered the showy orchid to be a very special flower. During my childhood years, I can remember going to my grandparents' house in the mountains of western North Carolina and seeing these orchids scattered along the length of its shaded, wooded driveway. The heartleaf foam flower is another aptly named shade-loving flower. While beneficial to pollinators, it is also a delightful spray of delicate white blooms against the dark floor. This is the leaf of a bloodroot. The leaf is so spectacular that I couldn't resist including it.
Pretty. There.
Had it not been for yet another audio problem, you would have heard me tell you that this was the very sign that we walked past when we branched off the Caldwell Fork Trail onto the Boogerman Trail. Yea, those many hours before.
This looks nice coming the other way. Oh, yeah, looking into the sun doesn't help, but still pretty. Looking down on that bank dog hobble.
As I neared the end of the Boogerman Caldwell Fork loop, the flatter trail and the wooden bridges allowed me to focus less on the challenges of the hike and more on the beauty of the forest that surrounded me.
Yeah, here's the spot we've been looking for.
Unfortunately, the sound failed to record here. One of the downsides of having to rely on an old phone, it's the only device I have that records in 4K. This is part of the reason I'm working very hard to find a way to get a proper, full-frame, weather-sealed 4K camera like the Canon R6 Mark II, but I digress.
This is one when I did that big loop, Mount Sterling and Pretty Hollow Gap. I didn't, when it whipped around the little Cataloochee trail, all I did was hit that and hit the long bunk and straight back to the Mount Sterling trail. I didn't take the little spur that came out to the road here.
So, I'm gonna hike it now.
Dwarf crested irises are just gorgeous.
The dwarf crested iris is one I always look for in early spring in the Smokies. It is a startling eruption of vibrant yellows, blues, and purple.
I think we're there. There's an awful lot more uphill than I thought to get here. You look on the map, you just see that, oh, it's kind of close to the road where the trail gets. Yeah. Sure enough. Look at that. Longbunk Trail. That's the one last year that I came from this direction, Little Cataloochee, hit Longbunk, and went 6 more miles.
Actually, it was only 3.5 miles to hit the Mount Sterling Trail.
To get to the Mount Sterling. Yeah, I remember coming up to this one, taking a look. Okay, it's 4.2 miles to come. And now we are dealing with Longbunk Trail. I came down here and said, look, oh man, look at that. I'm so close to the road. 1 mile and I could hit it. But I went on and caught the Mount Sterling Trail. So now I've picked up that spur right here back to the road where I parked my car. I've done it. I can fill that in. Cool deal.
I returned the nearly 1 mile to my car to end yet another wonderful trip to the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. You may have noticed that I have a burden to share with others the incomparable beauty of the Smoky Mountains. Consequently, I am sincerely grateful to anyone willing to take the time to help by subscribing, liking, or commenting. Those things are crucial to growing the channel, which will allow me to share the Smoky Mountains with even more people. This is Graybeard for the Sylvan Reflections channel. I'll see you on the next hike. If you like this video, please consider clicking the like, subscribe, and notification bell.